Willa had always been the quiet thread in a family woven with louder colors. She existed in the pauses between other people's sentences, the steady heartbeat beneath the chaos. She moved softly so others could shine louder, carried burdens without ever naming them, and smiled even when her soul begged for rest. That it wasn't that she was invisible by accident. She had learned to be that way, learned that in her family, quietness kept the peace, and peace was worth more than pride. Her mother used to whisper, "Kindness holds a house together." And Willa believed it, until kindness became her cage. When her mother died, the house changed its language. Laughter became rare, conversations turned brittle, and every hallway seemed to echo with something missing. The air was filled with the ghost of unspoken things, apologies never voiced, feelings left to fade like dust on picture frames. Her father retreated into silence, newspapers, black coffee, and long evenings staring at the same wall. Her brother Jackson became louder, hungrier for praise, always ready to remind everyone of his importance. Her sister Marla sparkled for strangers online, posting filtered smiles to hide the cracks beneath. And Willa, she became what the others needed, the caretaker. The quiet fixer. The invisible glue that held a fractured family together. She paid the bills, cooked the meals, cleaned up the remnants of other people's tempers. Every kind act, every gentle gesture, was another piece of herself given away without return. That night, when the world finally fell still, she escaped into her art. Her small desk became a universe of color, watercolors that spilled like breath across paper. She painted skies that looked like freedom, oceans that never ended, and fields untouched by footsteps. In those moments, she wasn't the quiet one. She was the creator, the dreamer, the one who made silence beautiful. But no one saw it that way. Jackson once passed by her room, glanced at her work, and smirked. "Cute," he said, like a pat on the head. Marla added, "So calming, like hotel art." Even her father smiled faintly and said, "You've always had a sweet hobby." A hobby. Willa only nodded, swallowing her disappointment like she had done 1,000 times before, because arguing would make her the problem, and she was never allowed to be the problem. Years blurred, life became a quiet repetition. Birthdays, dinners, anniversaries, all performed with practiced smiles, until the reunion. It was one of those evenings that looked beautiful from the outside. The backyard was lit with golden string lights. The air was warm and smelled like grilled food and summer flowers. Family members filled the space with laughter, half-remembered stories, and shallow compliments. Willa moved through them like wine, unseen but necessary. She poured drinks, passed plates, adjusted the candles, and made sure the evening went perfectly. When Jackson arrived, the energy tilted. He carried himself like a man who owned every room he walked into. He hugged their father, kissed Marla on the cheek, and gave Willa the kind of polite nod you give to a neighbor, not a sister. Dinner was loud, full of Jackson's stories about business deals and Marla's updates about her perfect life. Willa listened, smiled, and passed the salt. Then, casually, Jackson turned to her and said, "Still painting, huh? That's cute. You've really stuck with that little art thing." The table laughed, just a soft chuckle, a harmless moment to them, but inside Willa, something cracked. Not a loud, breaking sound, but a small, clean snap, like glass under too much pressure. For the first time, she didn't feel sadness. She felt clarity. She had spent her whole life being the quiet one, the helpful one, the good one, and it had earned her nothing but invisibility. Later that night, when the guests were gone and the lights were dim, Willa stood under the warm glow of the last string light. The table was still cluttered, half-empty glasses, wrinkled napkins, crumbs of laughter that weren't hers. The air was still, but inside her, everything moved. She realized she wasn't angry at them, she was angry at herself, for staying so long in a story where she was just background noise. So she walked upstairs. No tears, no speeches, just quiet motion, the way she'd lived her whole life. She opened her closet and packed a small suitcase. A few dresses, her sketchbook, her paintbrushes, a framed photograph of her mother smiling in sunlight. On the fridge, she left a note written in the same neat handwriting her mother had taught her. "Don't worry. I'm fine, please, take care of each other. I'm learning to take care of myself." Then she left. No one saw her go. The door clicked shut behind her, soft as breath, a goodbye too gentle for them to notice, but powerful enough to change everything. For the first time, the silence around her wasn't heavy. It was peaceful, alive. Weeks later, her new apartment was small, but the windows opened to light. Every morning, the sun spilled across her desk, kissing her pains awake. She worked tirelessly, not out of duty, but out of desire. She painted until her hands trembled and her heart felt full. Her canvases began to look different, bolder, freer, as if she was learning to speak again through color. Loneliness visited her sometimes, quiet and patient. But she no longer feared it. Loneliness, she learned, was just silence waiting to be filled with truth. She opened a small online art store, hesitant at first, then brave. Her work began to sell. Slowly, then steadily. Her inbox filled with messages from strangers who felt something when they looked at her paintings. Peace, hope, recognition. For the first time, people saw her, truly saw her, and back at home, her absence echoed. Jackson called once. Then Marla. Then again, their father wrote a letter, clumsy and full of words he'd never said before. Willa replied with kindness, but not with promises. She had forgiven them. But she had also learned, forgiveness doesn't mean return. Months passed. One morning, she received a call from an art gallery downtown. They wanted to feature her work. In their next exhibition. Willa stood by the window, holding her phone, her heart blooming like color in water. That night, she worked on a new painting, a sunrise breaking through a quiet sky. She added small golden streaks, like hope woven into dawn. When she finished, she looked at it and whispered, "I'm living now, Mom, not for them. For me." Outside, the world was quiet again, but not the old silence that suffocated. This silence was full of music, the kind only freedom can play, and in that stillness, she finally understood. Silence isn't the absence of sound, but it's the beginning of your soul's voice. M.A.